Welcome to the Sounds Like This podcast. I'm your host, Julie Murray, and today I am joined by Emma Reddie from Emma Reddie Connection. Thank you so much for joining me, Emma. Yay!
Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled to have Emma here today because she is a specialist in matrescence and coming from a career in HR and now working with women to support them through their career and lives and choices and all sorts of stuff navigating motherhood. I'm really excited to be having this conversation with you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. So first of all, can you please explain to all of us noobs out there who are new to the word matrescence and what it really means and why it's important?
Absolutely. So matrescence for me is a word that changed my life. It's been likened to adolescence and menopause in the way that it is a hormonal shift that happens to a woman when she becomes a mother, and it is a part that impacts our entire life. So our emotional well-being, our mental health, our physical health, and the changes in our body, and also the societal expectations of a woman when she becomes a mother. So matrescence is the whole package and that whole transition that happens to the woman when she becomes a mother, and it is for the rest of our lives. So it's something that's constantly changing, and something that once we feel like we understand where we're at in our matrescence journey, it'll turn us on our heads again and be completely different. So for me, that really changed my whole perception of what motherhood should be, because there is no single definition of what a good mother looks like. So it's all about our own individual matrescence journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, in being a mother myself, I know that we, when we're expecting our babes, it was very much, is the baby healthy? Is the baby doing all the things? Are they growing? Are they, you go in for all of the checkups, and then you have the baby, and again, check to see the baby's thriving, and then good luck, kind of, and that's it. And you are changed. Like, you are a mother now, but there's no kind of, extensive support network for that or dealing with it. And it's very different when they're newborns to when they're toddlers to when they're now school aged and then growing up and changing themselves. And I guess your identity changes through that, and your input, influence, perspective, all of that is constantly evolving as well through the mothering.
Exactly.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And we don't necessarily have the language to describe all of those little changes that are happening to us. And they happen so incrementally that we come out at the toddler stage and we don't really recognise who we are anymore. And for me in my work, when I am focused on the return to work side of things with working mums, you're not the same person that left the workplace 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So there's a lot of identity shift that I focus on with the matrescence coaching that I do, to understand who you are now and to embrace that person and celebrate your strengths and all of these new things that you've evolved into, but also consciously grieving that identity that you're leaving behind as well.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I don't think it's something that we necessarily have big conversations with. I'm a mum now, and it's very much around the child, but actually what does that mean for you? You were a whole person before you were a mother, and I'm not taking away from the life that you have now, but it's different, and to acknowledge that it's different and that it doesn't have to be the same to be valid that's a whole lot. So can you tell me about the types of coaching that you do? So you do career and matrescence coaching kind of
as one
in together. And so you specialize in supporting those women that are experiencing that. So what kind of stories are you hearing when women are coming to you and saying, I need help with this? Why would someone come to you for that sort of coaching?
Yeah. The biggest word that I guess is described is I feel lost. I don't know who I am anymore, and I don't know how to be this new version of me. So the work that I do primarily is in one-on-one coaching, and there's no set structure that we follow because everyone is different. It might be we need to focus on aligning you to your new values and priorities. It might be gaining confidence in interview skills and preparing to go back to work, or it might be coaching you through what a conversation with your manager might look like preparing for a return to work. So I find that the women that come to me are in real stages of flux. Their children have entered a new stage. They're needing to relocate or return to work for whatever reason it might be. And it might be something that you're not actually wanting to do. So there's a lot of conflict there. So
they might be going back for financial reasons. The family needs two working parents.
Yeah, exactly. Or, or you're feeling that you're not loving parent life as much as you thought you would, and that you really miss working. But what does that new life look like? And mum guilt is a big thing that we talk about, and really normalising that all feelings are valid and that it is okay not to want to spend 24/7 with your children, but it's also okay if that's what you want to do. So there's a lot of focus around guilt and identity shift in that one-on-one coaching. I do also run workshops and mothers circles and mothers groups for various groups of mums that feel like they need a bit more community and village to just be themselves and have a vent and talk about the challenges that they are having at this point in time. And then also with my women's connection circles, it's just a beautiful space to come and let down your hair and be you with no responsibilities. And so we do breath work in there and journaling and a little bit of sharing just with where you're at in this time. And they're just such powerful rooms to be in. So that's the joy of my job, that I really look forward to those, bringing women together and creating that community and that village that I feel in society today we are missing.
Absolutely. I know that in my spaces, it's a big part of why some of the women come and keep coming back. Like, yes, we do beautiful music programs, but actually it's so much about supporting the grown-ups to do better for themselves, to kind of hold their own and so that they can give and be part of it. It's not a selfish thing to look after yourself and to if you only want to come because singing gives you an endorphin boost and then you feel better for the afternoon, that is a good reason to come, So there's a lot of mums that kind of come along that feel a bit lost, similar sort of thing, and like they don't have a tribe and they don't necessarily have the support around them, but it gives them a space to be and just be. Yeah, it's a really lovely thing. I know that you're running some workshops with the Frankston City Council. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's involved in those and the types of people that you'll be supporting and what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got two separate offerings at the moment, I guess the best way to describe it. One is with the Frankston South Community and Rec Centre. So we're running Motherly Connections, which is essentially a mothers group for mums who don't fit into the council-run early parents or first-time parents group for that early postpartum period. So you might be new to the area, you might have older kids, you might have 2 or 3 kids now, and you're just looking for a space to come, have a cup of tea and just connect with others in your community just like you, that have a chance to talk and be vulnerable and to say, hey, this is really hard at the moment. What do I do? Because you may not have that community. So I'm really proud to be able to facilitate that environment for mums in our community. And then at Coringal Place coming up, we've got a 2-part workshop called the Realign workshop. So the first part of it is realigning to who you are now. So it's more of an internal value setting, understanding what your priorities are, what the focus is for you right now. And then part 2 is more practical when it comes to returning to work. So resume writing skills, interview skills. And that's what for anyone, they're not specifically for mums. They're not specifically for because you're returning to work after parental leave, you might just be feeling a little bit lost where you're at right now. And what I'm really proud of is that both of these workshops and partnering with our community centres is that they're family friendly. There's going to be toys available. You can bring the kids along. We understand that parents have kids,
and the children will make noise at some point.
Exactly. It's not a structured environment. It's not a corporate environment. It'll be very relaxed and just an opportunity for you to come as you are, and give yourself a chance to learn a little bit more about who you are right now and how that person you're becoming is going to serve you in the future.
Yeah. It sounds beautiful. What are some of the barriers for the women in those spaces? If I was, in the thick of it with my kids and someone says, we're going to do some values work and really find out what that means to you. Is that confronting for some women? Are they like, actually I've never considered this. I've always just kind of rolled with the next step because you go to school and then you do this and then you do that. And, this is kind of where I got up to and it was the next thing on my list, but I've never actually spent that time to reflect on what does that mean to me and what do I want? And, do you find that a lot of women kind of shift in becoming mothers? They're like, actually.
Funnily you say that. That was me.
Right.
I had the checklist down pat, the dog, then the house, and get married and then have the baby and then life is done. Gosh, that was such awakening to get to that point and realize, well, now what?
Yeah.
I've got the rest of my life to go and I've ticked off everything.
Yeah, on paper, you're set, right?
Exactly. It's easy from here.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and it's something that I'm sure we'll go into further, but our society has been brought up to believe that achievements mean everything. So if you want this, you do this, you get it, you're done, you're happy.
And you're valuable now because you've
exactly
achieved that.
Exactly. And I think we get to that point and we lose our curiosity. And have you ever had a child that just asks why about everything?
Yes, I have.
Yes. And at what point does that get lost?
When someone beats it out of them, hopefully not literally, but figuratively, they're told not to enough times that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think curiosity is one of the most lost values of our generation of adults. And for me, that is due to fear of the unknown.
Being judged.
Yes. And those triggers and stressors create anxiety. And we know, we don't want to feel anxious. We don't want to feel that way. So we won't ask why. We won't step out of our comfort zone to learn more. So I think that is a really big piece when it comes to mums and what their new normal looks like, because there is a big concern around what if I fail and what if I don't know what the right answer is and what if I try something and it doesn't work, then I've wasted time. The fear around failure, I think, is a really big thing with women. And so when asked, what are your values? I don't expect someone to say A, B, C, D, because most of the time you haven't even thought about it recently, and you haven't been given the language to label who you are and what you're feeling now. So a lot of my work is asking a bit more in-depth questions.
What kind of questions? So I don't know, how do you even start that?
Yeah, it is a journey and it is everyone different. And generally it starts from breaking down where you're at now. So what might be your stresses? What tabs do you have open? What do you feel you are juggling most right now? Let's break that down. Well, can you let that go? And so often women are like, I can't.
Why are you holding on to that?
Exactly.
Why is that the priority?
Exactly. So then when we learn what the priorities are, then we ask the why questions. I become that annoying toddler to say, but why is that a priority? Or because I like it. But why do you like it? Because it makes me feel good.
What about it makes you feel good?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I like being able to, so say for example, it might be exercise, for example. Why are you prioritizing going to the gym? Because it makes me feel good. What about it? physical and mental health. Okay, great. What about that?
Is important to you and a priority for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they're able to articulate, I know when I do this particular dance class, I come home and I just want to play with my kids.
Yeah.
And that is an important value with me because being present gives me the relationship that I want.
Yeah.
And you bring it back to the type of person that you want to be.
Yeah. So yes, you like doing the dance class. Yes, you like exercising, but what you really want is the endorphin and that connection afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we would bring that back to connection.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't expect you to have all of the words, but we do delve deeper into the why behind your choices and your priorities. And that then gives you a really great group of words that you can then say, I go to the gym because I need to be my best self to connect with my children and my family.
Yeah. And you do that better when you've got that endorphin high. You feel the dopamine. You've given yourself time to be just you, not you plus all of the other layers. Like you've actually given yourself time. It's not selfish, necessary.
No.
It is a crucial thing to continue to be you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine how different our world would be when parents prioritize themselves as much as they prioritize their children. I'm not saying you need to do more than, but just equally giving yourself as much love as you give to your children.
Yeah. I know it's a conversation that I've had with my children as well. So mine are, now 9 and 11, and they'll say, well, why are you doing that or whatever? And I'm like, because I actually need this for me. And we have those conversations like, you do this, I need this, I'm taking this now. It's not negotiable. It's not that I don't care about you. It's just right now, this is what I'm doing and I'll be back soon. And
that allows you to be the version of you that can do the things you need to do in your life.
Yeah.
And that comes back to that human being versus human doing. So we've been brought up in a world where tasks and ticking things off creates
I love
success.
ticking things off though. I really love it. But you're right, because you feel like once you've accomplished something that you're valuable and that you've got something that you can kind of hold up and say, my time was spent well, or,
Exactly.
So,
but that goalpost is constantly moving because once you've ticked it off, you might feel good for a bit. You've done a thing, but what's next? Because once you do the thing, then how are you going to feel? So we have this model, and I didn't come up with this by any means. A mentor of mine about 10 years ago introduced it to me, and James Clear goes into it in Atomic Habits as well. But it's the do, have, be model. So when I do the thing, I will – so say, for example, when I go to work, I will make money so I can get a house, and then I will be happy. Okay, you got the house. Now what? And that's ticking all of those tangible goals off. And goals are good, don't get me wrong. They are
good to have somewhere to live. We like that for you.
A point to work towards. But if we flip it on its head and have the model of do, have, be, have, do rather, we can create our life in the person who has the capability to achieve those goals.
So we become the person first that can have the things and do the things because of who we are.
Exactly.
That's a whole thing.
And so that rather than it being about the tangible things, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
So it's how are you going through life in a way that you are happy, content, fulfilled.
Yes.
What are you doing to be that person so that that person can do well at work and create opportunities? And who knows what you might get out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the thing.
I see so many parallels with my teaching and the children that I work with, and a big part of the values that kind of go into our business is that I believe that children are right where they need to be when they need to be there, and it's not a race for them to get to the next stage and level, whatever, and their experience right now is valid. So for that to be true, we need to value their experience. We need to give them autonomy. We need to let them advocate for themselves. We need to not rush them. We need to not force things upon them. We can create invitations to play, but how they choose to interact with it there and then in that moment is completely up to them. So we're not manipulating them. They're just letting them experience their experience. And that's a really tricky thing for people to support. I'm talking about educators or parents. If we're so programmed to think that they're doing something wrong unless they're doing it as fast as the child next to them, or at this rate that I read is where they should be at now, or whatever, you know, and that's really challenging, I think, to someone that's been conditioned to think, I want my child to do well so that they can, you know, move along those pathways. And I'm worried about the way my child is walking right now because of their college scores. It's like, we've missed the point and they're just playing with the truck. Like they're, you know, but we're trying to rush and push and move forward and take away, not take away, but accidentally take away, I guess, those experiences for the children. And I wonder how much of that is because that was what we've experienced. You know, your learning wasn't valuable until there was a test that showed on paper that you were at whatever level. And so we like institutionalized ourselves. And then we're doing it, continuing to do that. So how do we shift that perspective? How do we become aware of ourselves and what we prioritize and how we do it? Because otherwise we're raising our children in a way that didn't get us to that happy space either. Like we still got to the end of it and when I've ticked all these things off on my list, but I didn't get to the be happy part. I thought that once I did all these things, I would be happy. And you've got a child that's happy right now and we're trying to change it. It's like, you could just let them be. Exactly. We can play with them for sure, but we can just let them be. And
it comes back to that curiosity again. Rather than trying to be in this box of perfect and the shoulds of what everyone else is doing, and that's because that's the tangible goal that we need to get to be the perfect mother or the perfect child. By flipping it onto the journey and being present and focusing on emotions and connections and relationships, that's more valuable. And then that child will become the best version of every version of himself for the rest of his life. And I'm saying he because I've got two boys.
I know, I say he as well for exactly the same reason. It's not a gendered preference thing. It's literally I'm thinking of myself as a mother and my small people are boys.
I come back to it every time. Sure. Exactly. You know, they as a child are exactly who they're supposed to be right now. And rather than changing them to fit a mold, let's focus on where they're at now and broaden their scope a little bit because we are parents and educators that we want to educate them and teach them about what could be seen outside of their comfort zone. And that's fostering that curiosity in a safe way. But we're not trying to get rid of everything that they are so that they can fit what we expect them to be because society and social media in a way as well has put this lens on what good and perfect and right looks like. And it's not realistic and it creates, I think, more challenges and more mental health challenges for everyone.
Yeah, my house definitely does not look insta-clean. There's socks on the floor, I promise. So I'm wondering then in your space when you're working with mothers, like how many of them are even aware of that before you come and start working with them, that they actually have a whole lot of conditioning themselves that maybe doesn't fit with them anymore. Maybe it never did, but maybe they're just coming to that kind of awareness that, oh, this doesn't fit where I want my life to be, or is that confronting?
Yes, definitely. But I find that those that are coming to me have gotten to that point of I need to change something. So there has been a shift. My worry is that there are still many out there that don't realise that things could be different, that you don't have to beat yourself up about everything that we feel like we're failing on a daily basis. So my biggest challenge is reaching those women who might be really stuck and in the thick of parenting life without realising that there is more available for them in themselves. with who they're becoming, and they just need to be ready for it and open.
Yeah. And I wonder, in that, how many people get to that next stage of their parenting, of their motherhood, and be like, oh, my kids are a little bit older now, and they're not less busy, because kids have always got things that they need, your contribution for, but where you've got more time and you think, who am I now? Because I've been a parent for 10, 15 years and I feel lost.
Yeah, a couple of the women.
Makes me sad.
A couple of the women I've worked with recently are in their 50s, and kids are grown up and they're very independent now or have left home, and they are wanting to spend the time and the effort to figure out who they are now so that they can be a better, different, whatever word you might use, partner, and then also mother to grown-up children.
Yeah.
That it is a shift, and it's that next season of their matrescence journey as to their role as a mother. But like I said, it's for the rest of your life. So it is important to take the time throughout all of those seasons to figure out who you are now and what your priorities are, and what you're going to spend your energy and your time on, so that you feel fulfilled in your life.
Yeah, because you only get one.
Yeah.
So make the most of it.
Yeah. And also something that I learned recently is there's something like 117 billion human beings that have walked on this planet, and none of them are like you. Everyone is individual and everyone has something different to offer to this world. So by embracing that and leaning into who you are and who you're becoming is just going to make the world a better place.
That's beautiful. Oh, I love that. That's such a sweet thing to say, because I think the guilt, the perfect mothering anything is a myth. You can't perfect anything, and trying will just drive you insane. But you have to try, because the stakes are too high not to, right? If you don't do X, Y, Z, then you've completely screwed up your kid and it's your fault, So that, like, the guilt is enormous. But really, surely all the best thing that we could give our children to be the most authentic version of ourselves, as long as we're not a narcissist. Like, do the work on yourself and actually work out what works for you and what you can do to support yourself better and what drives you and all of that. And then I'm hopeful in our children seeing us do that and value ourselves like that, they will see that we are worth valuing. They are worth valuing. This is how we treat people that we love, and we're included in that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So let's talk. I know we've spoken previously about this just briefly, but I'd love to introduce our audience to the career conundrum and what that looks like for motherhood. Let's say a mum who's been mothering for just a couple of years. What does that look like in terms of what you can do to support a mum who's stuck in that world at the moment, going, I'm pulled this way, I'm pulled that way. What does it look like? Yeah.
So I need to definitely reference Dr. Sophie Brock here. The career conundrum is a terminology that she has created to put language towards what working mothers have been feeling for generations. So it also ties into the perfect working mother myth about what success looks like in this new world for working mums. So from the career side of things, a successful career woman is on time every day. She shows up. She's putting her hand up for projects and promotions, and she's climbing the ladder, and she is there and getting it done all day, every day. On the care side, a perfect mother is there all the time, never misses an assembly, is always there when her child is sick, is making nutritious meals from scratch all day, every day, is calm and present and keeps a clean home and is caring towards her partner, and ticking all of those boxes around what the perfect mother looks like. And realistically, they don't exist. either of those.
Yeah.
But then we blend them together and have this working mother who's trying to work like she doesn't have a family and parent like she doesn't have a job. And it's just creating more and more burnout and anxiety and stress and overwhelm in parents and mothers in our society. So what we are trying to break, and I'm studying under Sophie at the moment, is creating the language around what your working life looks like as a mother and being able to offer tools and tips and conversation points to have with your manager around what success looks like for you as an individual rather than this overarching successful working mum BS, to be kind.
Yeah. And with your spouse as well, if you
Absolutely.
have one. So what kinds of conversations does that lead to, you know? Is it a division of tasks things? Is it a I need you to be more on top of the mental load part of it so that it's not women's invisible work as well? Like, you know, there's
Absolutely.
a
That
bit more
invisible
accountability and
And like the invisible load in itself is just so phenomenal when it comes to having children and school-age children as well. You know, what day is library day? When's the footy dress-up day? Don't forget the gold coin for this thing. All of those little things have to be reminded, especially if you've got kids that need reminding like mine do. That for me, and I found what worked really well with my relationship was once I had the language, I was able to articulate how I was feeling rather than just pointing fingers, you never do this. It's more saying I'm overwhelmed because this is what I'm working on at the moment.
Oh, you're very restrained. My I'm overwhelmed conversation went a little bit different. Like, not another thing, because it's too much.
It is so much.
Yeah.
And I think something as well, and I have friends and colleagues that are such specialists in this space, but women's hormones play such a big factor into how much tolerance we have with what we are managing on a daily basis. So it might be 1 week, we're juggling all the balls. We're great. We're joining a circus. We can juggle so well.
Yeah.
But then a couple weeks later, I can barely put my shoes on that I'm so tired and I can't I can't
The brain
do anything.
fog or
Exactly. So I think having the language and the understanding of ourselves allows us to create better conversations, to then create better routines or boundaries or tools that work for our family. So I think that is really, really important when it comes to parenting in this world.
I know that in our house there's been numerous occasions where no matter how many times we've put my hubby on as the primary contact, they'll contact me first. So much so that I ended up saying to the front office of my kids' school, like, just because I have the vagina doesn't mean, like, seriously. And in talking to other mums about it, they're like, oh, I didn't even know that you could indicate somebody else as the thing. I'm like, yes, I'm hard to catch. I teach all the time. He's not hard to catch. Call him first. He'll answer the phone, you know. Things like that, I think, where we can say, this doesn't serve us. This doesn't serve my family. It doesn't fit better. And once we start to have more of those conversations where we can put it in place with other things like schools or work or whatever it is, where we can actually have them start to change the script on, oh, my child banged his knee, we're going to call a parent. We're going to call a parent. We're not going to call the mother, or we're going to call the guardian. We're going to call their person, but it doesn't always have to be mum. And it doesn't.
No.
And it's really tough.
Yeah.
That it does. And it always kind of falls to, oh, well, mum didn't do X, Y, Z. Well, what did dad do? You know, like.
And I think it also plays into mums want to. There might be a need to be the primary breadwinner, or their work is like shift work. They might work in medicine that they are not available to answer their phone for whatever reason. That doesn't mean that they don't love their children. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be at the assembly or whatever it might be. It just means that in their household, certain boundaries and certain priorities are working right now. And and that's okay. And I think the really important thing, especially for relationships, is to make the time to reassess, especially if you introduce another child or they do go all to school or into high school. What does the new normal look like?
Yeah.
What does your support system look like? And what are the priorities for you right now that are going to work for you? And then stick to it unapologetically.
Yeah. What looks right for some other people doesn't have to be your perfect fit. Yeah, I think that's a challenge because, again, the guilt, you want to be seen to be doing well as well. Like nobody wants to be the parent that never shows up or never whatever. And it's like, it's not that I don't not care. It's just that at 2 p.m., I can't at 2 p.m. Like, I can at 3 p.m. I can't at 2 p.m., you know.
Exactly.
So it's tricky. It's really, really tricky.
It is a juggle.
Emma, I'd like to thank you so much for coming along today and having a chat about this with me. I think it's really important that my community learns more about matrescence, that we can support each other better, that we can have these conversations. I love the sounds of your programs. Your women's circle sounds remarkable. I can't wait to come along myself. Yes. I'd love to come and try not to be too loud. I have things to say about my values.
I love it. The best part is when I have to bring everyone back down and say, okay, we're going to do some quiet reflection time now.
Like, time to breathe.
Let's stop laughing so much.
Yeah, beautiful. If anyone would like to learn more about Emma's amazing work, you can check out our website, emmareddieconnection.com.au, and we'll pop a link to her Instagram on the bottom as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been Julie for Sounds Like This. Bye-bye.